Good evening. All right, what do we have for a time? 6:12, Mary. We'll call the meeting to order. Let me get my attendance sheet out. All right. Mary. Mary is here.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes, here.
Maribel.
Here.
Maribel, happy birthday. A couple days late. Helene.
Thank you.
Here.
Meg.
Here.
Sarah.
Here.
Rosanna.
Present.
Chris.
Here.
And Jay here. All right. So, all right. First thing on the agenda, review and approve minutes from our November meeting. Were there any questions or concerns there, Chris?
Hold on one second. I'm just asking if there's any way we can move up an item number 4. I'm also have to attend a WISTE meeting. They're short on quorum. I'm trying to do both.
Yeah.
Is that
I think so. Let's take this
Yeah,
vote on item
yeah.
1 and I'll entertain a motion to
Okay.
move ahead in the agenda to accommodate
Thank you.
that. How about
I
that?
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I think Mary, of course, is always very thorough and does a nice job for us. We're lucky to have her. I don't hear any, so I'm just going to take I'll entertain a motion to receive the minutes for our November meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Mary.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Maribel.
Yes.
Helene.
Yes.
Meg.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Rosanna.
Yes, sir.
Chris. And Jay. Yes. All right. So yeah, per Chris's request, I'd make a motion that we take up item number 4 out of order. As we know, a lot of our members are on multiple boards, and we certainly always want to accommodate that. Is there a second to that? We'd have to just take a quick vote.
So moved.
All right, motion made and seconded to take up item number 4 to accommodate our historical commission member, Chris. Mary.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Maribel.
Yes.
Helene. Meg.
Did you get my yes?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Meg.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Rosanna.
Yes, sir.
Chris. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. Sorry for the delay. I have to get give me 1 second here.
That at the time was to simplify.
Okay. So sorry, we have some other folks that are trying to get into the Zoom meeting, so I want to make sure that they have the ability to do so. So I just asked Meg to send over that. All right, so agenda item number 4, discussion of current preservation restrictions held by the Historical Commission. And then there's also a link to the communication that we all received in October. So, Chris, was there any update on that? Have we heard from Lisa Ball? She had sort of indicated she was looking into it for us.
I have sent her a request and have not heard anything back as of yet today.
Okay. So one thing is, like, what are the specific concerns, because I wonder if we could just in the interim try to address those specific concerns. And then, as we are able to figure it out, kind of come up with a system to better handle this. You know what I mean? So sort of a short-term patch, I was thinking, where we could, band-aid the concerns and address the concerns of the historical commission while also trying to solve the problem in the long term, so we don't have to continuously have to be prodding people to try to follow up on things.
I mean, I guess it just boils down to the historical commission. We don't have a degree in any type of architectural or building. I mean, if we're looking at a building, is it safe for us to say yes or no, this is good, this is not good? I mean, from the research that I've done, again, it looks like it boils down to somebody in a building department or architects or something.
Okay. I have Michael and then Meg.
Well, for the sake of brevity, just take that responsibility from the historical commission. Originally, we asked the historical committee, when we first started as a group, we asked the historical commission to be the filter to take all the historical proposals we had and say, yes, they are historical and they meet all the requirements, but take the onus of responsibility off them and put it back on us. It'll be our responsibility to take up the question of the long-term commitment of the person, the grantor, or the people that have received the money to maintain their home, their house, and take that off the historical commission. That's it in a nutshell. I think, Chris, if I can say, you do your job well, but you shouldn't be held responsible for making decisions that are clearly your committee is not committed to or shouldn't have to. So, Mr. Chairman, I would say let it be back on us, the Preservation Committee, to take up that question and to keep the Historical Commission as the go-to folks, since they are historical, to evaluate historical proposals and say, yeah, that's non-historical, but that is, and just let the enforcement of it be back on us and let us resolve it as a commission and leave the Historical Commission, that component of it, out of it.
Yeah. Meg.
Thank you. Just a quick follow-up question, and then I think I have something I'd like to get a little bit deeper into. So, Chris, is the main concern the granting of historical significance, or is it following up on the preservation restrictions?
It's all about the preservation restriction. Nothing about granting,
Okay. So my suggestion is this. So if the committee is feeling overwhelmed, I don't think, or like it's not currently under the purview of the experience or skills that folks have, then right now our preservation restrictions are held by the historical commission. That doesn't mean that the historical commission members themselves have to be doing inspections. The initial conversations that we had on all these properties was simply that when a property was put forward for a permit, that the building inspector would know that this restriction existed and they would use it in order to be able to say yes or no to a permit. The other thing that the historical commission could do, being the holder of it, could be to say, hey, CPA, we need some support out of the admin budget in order to hire a consultant to help us to do something. We have a concern about one project. And so can a consultant be hired in order to help us? I think that would be a legitimate ask too. So I think there are ways of getting you the expertise and support that the commission needs, while them still being the holders of it. I don't think it means they have to do the work themselves. I think it means that it's completely okay for the committee to say we need to delegate the task out even as we're holding the preservation restriction.
Yes. Well, but I guess that boils down to the research and trying with the building department. Again, not getting any help.
All right. Anyone else? All right. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge we have a couple of folks from the Jones Point neighborhood at the meeting, and you're certainly welcome. Thank you for attending. We have a couple of other items that we're going to work through, and so just please have some patience, and we'll be happy to, we'll be taking up some relevant topics later on in the meeting. So thank you again, and please feel free to share the Zoom link with whomever is interested in joining.
Jay, can I interrupt you for 1 minute, please? The link.
Who's that?
This is Beth Burgle.
Hello, welcome, Beth. We have a couple of things we got to take care of. We'll be with you momentarily.
I just want to tell you your link is not correct. So
Okay.
your meeting is not public.
Right. Can you send that link to your other neighbors that are interested in joining so they have that?
I can, but and I sent to the people that I have in my phone, but I didn't bring my whole list with me because I sent what is on the website out to everybody 2 days ago, but it's not the correct link.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know how that affects your whole meeting.
My goodness. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that one for sure. It's definitely a concern.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right. So I mean, regarding the Historic Commission preservation restrictions, what do you want to do, Chris? What are you thinking?
I would love some help. Again, if anyone has any clout with the building department, or if there's something, I mean, we just hold the restriction. I don't know, and say we're not liable. I don't know where to go.
Would you rather the CPA hold the restriction?
I don't really think it's anything about holding the restriction. I think it's just the enforcement of it. Again, being the watchdog is not a problem, but again, if something does an addition, an alteration, who do I go to? Who do I go to you and then say CPA deals with it? Again, I've tried with the building department. We've had the same issues with other buildings, and there's no support within the city.
Yeah, it's been an uphill battle for sure. And to Meg's point, I do just have concerns of, getting into the admin budget. I think that's
Right.
we're going to be right up against it next fiscal year. And it's just, it's just going to be it's unsustainable. I mean, even if we were, willing to do it over the short term, like I just don't see it as something that the committee is going to be able to, financially absorb. I mean, we can kind of get into the details of that admin budget at a future meeting, and I think it'll be pretty clear to everyone that that's the case. But I have Michael and then Helene.
Well, again, Mr. Chairman and my fellow committee members, Chris and his committee should not be held as the people to enforce this. This is the what we should do as a committee to make sure that it's enforced. And we, quite frankly, the only thing we're left with is the faith and goodwill of the people that write down a proposal and we fund it. We're under the understanding that they will carry through faithfully the historic restoration of what they're doing. We simply don't have the money to do it otherwise. And Chris's committee certainly shouldn't bear that responsibility. That's the responsibility of this committee, not his. I mean, his committee, as it was first envisioned, were the ones that would be the filter to say that's historical and that's not. That's it. This other enforcement component was never a part of our understanding in dealing with the Historical Commission. They agreed to help us as a filter, but not as an enforcement agency. The enforcement option should come from this committee, if any. But I can't see us, as you said, I can't see us where we're going to get the money to hire an inspector. We're going from 1.5 to 1, and next year it's going to get worse. And even the state are going to give us less money. So we just have to act on the faith and goodwill of the people that we give the money to. And that's pretty much it.
Yep. Helene.
I apologize if we discussed this before at the last meeting and I just forget. But have we reached out to the coalition or other communities about how they've been able to and it looks like Chris, you have an answer. I know a lot of what other communities can do is different from us because of our budget being so much smaller. But I was just wondering if that was a way to get some information or guidance.
I did reach out to several communities close to us and also communities towards Boston Way, et cetera. And it's really it's all over the place. Some make it the applicant, others the CPA bears the burden. I tried to do kind of the percentage of monies basically from Holyoke compared to say like Westfield or Springfield. And it kind of boiled down to where the CPA, and then there was other times where the actual applicant was forced to pay the cost. I did not reach out to the coalition though yet.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some feedback from the coalition on that, and it's, some of the larger communities are able to absorb that, the Springfields and Worcesters and Bostons of, they have a much larger budget, so they're able to sort of make that part of their process, whereas we're a bit smaller. I mean, we were reduced, so it's just sort of a difficult one. We went through it a bit with the tiny house, if you remember, with the housing. Mary can speak to this. The issue was oversight. Who was going to do the oversight? And we're always trying to, find somebody that's able to do that for our different, our different categories, because we are mandated by the city to put those restrictions in place. That's part of our responsibility. So we have to do that, and then finding somebody to do the oversight is tied in with that. So I think just in the spirit of moving forward, Chris, I mean, I'm not really sure what we're going to do at this moment. I don't know that I have a good solution. I think we want to just continue the dialogue on it. Is this something, does the historical commission want to continue to have these restrictions? Do they think, is it something that you think, we want to continue to have their name on and then work to find the oversight? Or is it something that you want to, like, moving forward, you want to have the CPA hold those restrictions? And, obviously we'll still work together to try to figure it out, but
I mean, I don't want to say it's a burden because we haven't done anything, but I mean, I think we just need some assistance from another city department.
yeah.
Again, it boils down to, I'm just going to say the Girls Incorporated again. They changed something on the facade. We've done it even just with the Historical Commission ourselves. Going to City Hall gets us nowhere. So why do we have these rules? Why do we have these regulations if
There's no teeth to them.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it's a tough one. It really is. I mean, I'm committed to finding a solution, Chris. I'll be honest, I haven't
Right.
found a good one yet. And, I don't know that the building department holds the expertise to sort of be making these assessments either. So it's just it's a tough one. We're going to have to, keep communication and keep speaking with Lisa and try to do our best to kind of come up with a solution. And I think, we'll reach out to Stuart again too, and
Okay.
and try to keep that line of communication going as well.
Okay.
So, I think that discussion sort of, was both 4A and B.
Right.
For 4C, I just didn't know what the
Before we move
status
on,
was. Oh, sorry, Helene.
I'm wondering if we could, like, Chris and I could be small, but I feel like we need maybe more time to just like brainstorm different ideas. And this isn't maybe the best forum just because we have an agenda to get through.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about, what if it's like these are being recorded with the on the deeds, and if at the sale of a building there's some sort of inspection, and then, there's a clawback or whatever if it doesn't, if it's been changed. Anyway, there's just a lot of things where I'm like, would that work? Would this work? But I feel like this is, just sort of a little bit too rushed to go through them methodically. So I'm just wondering about maybe like a kind of separate committee to sort of research, look into it, think creative ideas. That's not, where we're getting through all these agenda items and where it's more a brainstorming kind of thing. And I would be happy to join that with you, Chris, and anyone else. But
I would appreciate that very much. Definitely. Definitely.
I think that's a great idea, Helene, and I think we could do that. Why don't we, I would say that is a motion by Helene to create a subcommittee to address the the preservation restriction oversight. And I'll second that motion. And I'll take a roll call vote on that. Mary.
Yeah.
Michael.
Yes.
Maribel.
Yes.
Helene.
Yes.
Meg.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Rosanna. Yes. Chris.
Yes.
And Jay, yes. So Helene, I love a good subcommittee. You know that. It's a good tool, I think, to get into some of these details. So I will send a communication this week with the members of that subcommittee, likely Helene and Chris. And if anyone else is interested in joining, please send me an email and I'll be happy to appoint you to that. Naomi.
I can be a part of it as admin support if you'd like me to be.
Wonderful. Yes. And I think, we'll
Thank
reach
you.
out to Stuart, we'll reach out to the solicitor's office, the building department, perhaps the mayor, and we'll see what the subcommittee comes up with. I think that's a good solution. Thank you, Helene and Chris. And then part 4C, Chris, I'm really just looking for an update. I mean, I have to let them know, we're coming up on our public presentation. So I didn't know what the status was of the historical commission with regards to the next net.
I had it on the agenda for Monday's meeting, but we unfortunately did not have a quorum. So
you didn't have a quorum. Okay. And your next meeting's at the beginning. What is it? The second Monday of January?
Second Monday of January. Yes.
Okay. Because our
presentations are right. We would be before, and then the presentations, I think, would be forthcoming after that.
Okay. So I'll touch base with you about that, and we'll just try to, I just want to, give the applicants enough of a heads up and try to be respectful of their time and just to get our process clean. And that would be great. So I'll reach out to you on that. And so we can move forward. That's agenda item number 4. Chris, you said you had to go to a WISD meeting.
Yes. All right. Thank you
good
all.
luck. Tell Megan we said hello.
Your help. Okay. Thank you all. Have a good night. All right.
All right. All right. So back to agenda item 2, our small grants update. So good news. After I think 3 trips to the City Council Finance Subcommittee, at least 2, the small grants proposal was approved and then sent to the full council where it was also approved. So our small grants program is now active. Just a reminder what that is, we had allocated a total of $15,000 towards that program. That's for projects that are not to exceed $6,000 total, and a cap of 3,000 of which would come from us. So we'd give 3,000 to a project no bigger than 6,000. We're not giving 3,000 for some $2 million project. You know what I mean? These are small little things. So Naomi did a great job for us and reached out to the city department heads and let them know of the program's existence or that it had been approved by city council. And we actually have a number of interested applicants. So we have a couple of historic projects, smaller things, one from Wisteria Hearst, one from the public library. And then Yoni was interested as well in doing some other work through that program. So the historical projects are going to need the historical commission's approval, I believe. So that's sort of going to be tied up until that issue is resolved. But the good news is that the city council supported the program. They cited essentially their faith in our committee. They were uncomfortable, I think, at first giving us, essentially we're pre-approved here for these projects. We don't need to go back to city council once we approve these projects. I think there was a little bit of discomfort with that at first, but the counselors that had that discomfort cited the good work of our committee and the faith they have in the work that we've done as their reason for approving it. So they're giving us a little bit of a leash because of the good work for the community of the committee. So that would be the update on the small grants. Did anybody have any questions or concerns there? All right. So there's not really any votes there. Into some of the meat of the meeting, the CPA Finance. So, this is something that we've been sort of trying to get a better handle on, I think, for the last few months. I think we're in good shape, but I just would like to, put us in a position moving forward where we're feeling better about everything. So Daniel is our current and previous financial consultant, and he has a lot of great qualities. He's very fluent in CPA, rules and bylaws and best practices, and that's been very useful to us. But he's not really that fluent in the Munis software, which is really essential to having a grasp on our finances. I mean, everything flows through Munis, and it's difficult. It's Naomi will tell you it's really not as easy as taking a online tutorial and then going through it. There's just a lot to it, and so we've been kind of kicking around the idea of finding somebody else for a while, and then we came across an applicant that's incredibly qualified for this and has a lot of Munis experience and a lot of municipal finance experience. So I had a conversation with her, and she was interested in the position. We threw around some numbers, and it worked out. It would be her rate is substantially less. It's actually half of what Daniel was charging us. So essentially it's a two-part proposal from me. Part A, that we would void Daniel's contract in good faith, though, not with any negative undertones, just because we had approved the money and I wouldn't want it to be outstanding, not that we would bill. And then approve this new consultant, Patti, who I sent the proposal to earlier this week. I think that the proposal is very detailed. I think it's essentially just an in-depth audit and a review of our processes, and then kind of ongoing support. And I see a couple of hands raised, Michael and then Mary.
Mr. Chairman, Mary's hand was up prior to mine.
Oh.
So
Yes, I apologize, Mary. Mary and then Michael.
Okay, so are you actually voiding a contract, or are you just not renewing a contract?
Well, we renewed it back in July, I want to say, for Daniel, but we haven't really been using him. Sometimes he's available, sometimes he's not, and then his ability to really delve into the nuts and bolts of Munis is not there. So it makes it difficult. And so I mean, we haven't billed anything through Daniel. We don't plan on it, but we did approve that money. So I think that was why I was looking to avoid it. I really, I want to underscore it's really in a positive light. I have no ill will towards Daniel at all. I think he did a nice job for us. I just think we have a better option available to us. A more affordable, better option, and that's kind of why I'm looking to move forward. It's more of a procedural thing to void the first contract. Does
And
that answer?
is Daniel aware of it?
He is not, actually. I reached out to him, but didn't hear back. Which is kind of part of the reason for the change.
Thank you.
Michael.
Mr. Chairman, are you requiring two votes? One, the first vote to void Daniel Koff's contract, and the second vote to approve Patti Cavanaugh's contract? Are you seeking that?
That's correct. That's my request. Yeah, that's the proposal I'm putting forth. It would be two separate votes.
Okay.
Sort of obviously connected, but two separate ones. Yes. Naomi, did you have a comment or?
Just wanted to say that Daniel will be relieved.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem. No one should feel bad for Daniel. So he'll be just as happy not to have this contract. He's very swamped. He's totally overextended, which is part of the reason he is slow to respond. So
yes. Yes. Were there any other
We're tough
questions
to
or
live with.
concerns? Unfortunately, Patti had a conflict tonight, so she wasn't able to join us, but she'd be able to come into our meetings in the future if needed. I think 99% of the position is just a series of emails between myself and the financial consultant, and then I loop everybody in essentially. But if there weren't any other questions or concerns, I just entertain a vote on item 3A, voiding the contract of Daniel Koff.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Mary. Motion made and seconded. Mary.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Maribel.
Yes.
Helene.
Yes.
Meg. Meg?
Yes.
Yep, sorry. Sarah.
Yes.
Rosanna? Rosanna is a yes, a visual yes. Chris is not with us anymore, and then Jay, yes. So by a vote of 8-0, we've avoided Daniel's contract. And then part two of this discussion would be to approve the contract of Patti Cavanaugh as our new financial consultant.
So moved.
Michael has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mary. Appreciate it. Any discussion on that? All right. Hearing none, I'm going to take a roll call. Mary.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Maribel.
Yes.
Helene.
Yes.
Meg.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Rosanna.
She said yes.
Rosanna's yes. Thank you, Rosanna. Chris is not with us, and Jay, yes. So thank you. We have a new financial consultant. I think I think it's going to be beneficial to us. If you notice in the proposal, one of the items is to evaluate our income from interest, which is substantial amount of money, and make recommendations as to how we can maximize that number as well. So I think that's something I'm excited about, particularly Mary.
Okay, so my question was going to have to do with C. You are going to address C, right? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So this is sort of a separate, connected but separate issue, which I'll get into now. So one of the other parts of our financial process is purchase orders. There's a system that the city has in process to be accountable. This is taxpayer money, and we want to be responsible and make sure everything's transparent and make sure the money's being distributed to reputable contractors and everything's on the up and up. And, to achieve that accountability, there's a number of hoops you have to jump through, and it's confusing and it's difficult. And there's a lot of logistical hurdles that we've had. Naomi can fill you in on those at a later date. It's just a difficult thing. And I think as I've thought about this and how we can improve upon it. I think one thing that I became clear is that we benefit from having somebody who works on site at City Hall to handle this for us. I think it's just difficult for the admin to, be responsible for taking that on, understanding Munis, having access to the VPN, which allows for remote secure access off-site to Munis. So I think, what we were able to do really is I spoke with Kelly Curran, the personnel director, and she said, well, another office is looking for the exact same thing on a part-time basis. Many City Hall employees work 35 hours a week. So we could sort of tack on up to 5 hours a week without getting into overtime. This would be an employee that's already trained on the process, that already has a city email, that already has Munis access, and knows, essentially for make a long story short, knows what they're doing in regards to this. So, we have a number of candidates available for that. And, I hope to have a discussion about, how we can move forward with that. I saw Michael's hand up.
Mr. Chairman, I have concerns about this. The more I thought about this, the bewildered I am. We are not a city department. We don't have a staff. Our budget's been cut. This is the work of the purchasing agents department. That's their job, is to do all those things that you said. That's their job. By way of an explanation, would this be person that you're thinking of do the following? Would they be a liaison between the auditor, the city treasurer, the state treasurer, and you? I take it they research invoices and payments, discrepancies between vendors and city departments, verify accuracy of vendor invoices or approve for payment, maintain a payment file and current purchase orders, train people that want to learn about the municipal function, computer function, support the auditor and you in closings and audits, and help out any way they can. This is a description from the Hoyoke Purchasing Agents Department. That's what they do. That's what they get paid to do. We don't get paid to do that. And I don't think as a committee, we should be paying for something that the city is supposed to be doing. We're under the umbrella of the city of Hoyoke. I mean, you don't see us out there helping the Wisteria Hearst people move the bricks or the stones. We hire people to do that. That's the city's responsibility. And the more I thought about it, I said, why do we have to pick up the tab for something that the purchasing agent ought to do it? And if it means adding 4 or 5 hours on their dime, let them do it. They're the purchasing department. We are not the purchasing department, nor do we have the skills or should we be responsible for reconciling all these things that I just alluded to. This is right off of the purchasing agent's description. That's what they do for a living. Let them, Mr. Chairman, why do we have to assume that responsibility? That's what they get paid to do. That's what I'm confused at. Why do we have to take up this burden?
Yeah, it's a great point, Michael. I mean, I do agree with that as well. I think it's just what it really came down to is, that there's just a limited amount of hours and staff in those departments, and they were basically maxed out. So I don't think we would have had the support from the department heads to tap into their already thin workforce. So we made the proposal to kind of complement what they're already doing. And I think also, while we're able to go up to 5 hours without going into overtime, I think from an average week to week hourly total, it's probably going to be like 1 to 2 hours. I don't think we're going to be really getting that high on an average basis. But I mean, it's a great point, Michael, and I do agree with what you're saying. It's just, I think from a practical standpoint, it wasn't going to get done absent some extra, from us. And the other part of this is that we had in the past been paying our admin to do this. So we're going to be essentially taking some hours from the admin and reapplying them to this in that sense. But I mean, I get what you're saying is that, ideally the city would be able to kind of absorb this for us, but I just think they're spread very thin, and I don't know that would actually happen. And it's something that I want to have in place so we can, we have things that come through purchase orders, and, everybody's trying to get their projects moving, and we're trying to get that going. And we just need somebody that's going to be able to do that, that works for us, that we can depend on. Meg.
Thank you. I just wanted to name that our staffers have always done it, and that's just the way the city is established in terms of how we do this. So every single department has someone that for their department has to initiate the requisitions and the invoices, and then they send all of the documentation that they have to purchasing, and all the documents then go through to the auditor, etc. But someone has to generate where it starts, and so the generative work is always done by whoever the initial creator is. So if it's something coming from Wistariahurst has someone who is doing this for Wistariahurst and sending it downtown. If you're the police department, they're generating them and sending them downtown, right? So everyone is doing this effectively, and that's why if folks looked at the folder that Jay sent out earlier today, we have a number of folks who have reached out and said, yeah, I think I'd be interested in doing this because I'm already doing it for another department in the city. And so I already have this experience. I already have a Munis training. I'm already in the system. This would be easy for me to take on as a lift because it's already part of the work that I'm doing for my department. So the CPA is considered its own department in the city. And when there are department head meetings, our staffer or chair is invited to go. And as a result, we very much operate effectively like a department in the city. That's why we have a block on the city website underneath the departments page. So it's just part of the requirements. If we were going to ask the city to somehow take it on through a different department, we would still be expected to pay for that indirectly, because it's still a service that a CPA would be effectively being billed for. Absent that being an option right now, because there's no department chair that feels like they can give us hours out of their staffers' time, we then have to hire someone outside of their regular work hours, which has always been the staffer in the past. But we've found it difficult to find somebody who has both sets of skills, because it's a totally different skill set through the technical side of the job than it is to do all of the other part of the job, which is working with applicants, updating the website, running the meetings here. They're just very different skill sets. And so it was Jay's idea to try to see if we could find an internal candidate instead who already had Munis experience. So it would be a easier lift and more likely that we would keep someone long-term.
For sure. And, the other part of this that's a bit odd is that, what we're really doing would be splitting this person with Aaron Vega's office, which is economic development office. So they're going to be serving this function for two different, if we approve, two different committees. And like I said, for us, it's going to be maybe 1 to 2 hours on average. I think there'll be many weeks when that number is 0. And then there'll be some weeks when that number is 5. I can tell you when Amy's last year, I think she processed 17 purchase orders throughout the course of the year. So the other thing to consider too is that, the internal staff know this process. They'll be able to do it quicker. They'll be able to do it with less correspondence and less time. So I think that, I don't want to, make any assumptions, but I think that it will be less hours than we've been previously using to accomplish the same goal. That's the hope anyway. So Helene.
Yeah. So I guess I'm wondering, just for clarity's sake. So we have the person, Patti, to do the financial, potentially this person, but then are we still going to be hiring a third person as the admin?
Yes, well, we would still have an admin, but at a reduced number. So we're sort of parceling the admin position into two positions, which would be a reduced admin position that has fewer responsibilities, and then a internal city employee that would do the purchase orders and just update Munis for us.
Okay. So
You
of
know,
the altogether though, there's three separate people kind of doing staff work, paid staff
yes,
work for the committee. Okay, that's great. That was I just the clarity, because when we talked before, the other admin TBA and admin person would be able to be flexible, like when we're having the public presentations during the period of collecting and going through applications, all that. They may have to do more time than less time. And being limited obviously to 5 hours a week wouldn't really work, but it sounds like this position you're talking about, it would be kind of rare if they ever had to do a 5 hours in a week, and it's more likely going to be less because they're not taking on all those things. And the other third, again, not named person, would be flexible in terms of being able to give more time at the busier times of year for us.
yes, yeah. That's all of that is correct too. And just to Meg's point too, with the department heads, is the mayor coincidentally invited me to this morning to the next department head meeting, which is on Monday. So I'll be attending, representing us, and I'll give you a report next week. Were there any other questions or comments regarding this proposal? All right. So, I mean, what I'd suggest, it's a, like I said, it's a very small role, a couple hours a week. We're going to be choosing somebody along with, Aaron Vega's office. So it's kind of a difficult thing to have them in for an interview. What I request, if the committee would allow, would be for the committee to empower me to work with Aaron to make a selection for this position. I think there's a couple of candidates that stood out to me, and that in speaking with Aaron were his preferences as well. And certainly I'd take any feedback and can communicate, but I'd like, just as a matter of process, so we could get somebody going. Would the committee be comfortable with that? With me selecting somebody if we were to approve this? Any questions or concerns?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say, especially given the nature of having to kind of coordinate with the economic development department on that for efficiency's sake, I do think that procedure makes sense.
Yes. Mary, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was trying to put it up, but I wasn't doing too good. But anyway, are there two votes that we need to make? One is to establish that this will be a position, and two, to give you as you said, empower you to the hiring.
Yes, that would be the request. If the committee were comfortable with that. I don't want to force that on us, but I just think that would allow us to get the ball rolling, to get the purchase orders processed. They could work with the new financial consultant, make sure everything's flowing good, get our projects going, and all of that.
Is going to be a contract involved, and how long would a contract last?
With that position, it wouldn't be. It'd be an ongoing at-will position. And just for clarification too, our financial consultant contract, it only goes through July 30th. And I think the discussions I had with her, and the plan is to substantially reduce that after the end of this fiscal year. So I think we have just some outstanding items that we want to clean up. And then once that's done, it'll be a much reduced role. That's the general plan. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I move to establish this new position of internal city employee to process purchase orders and update Munis year-over-year spreadsheet.
Second.
All right. We have a motion made and seconded. Appreciate that. And I'm going to take a roll call vote. Mary.
I forgot to add the 5 hours.
Yes, not to exceed 5 hours per week. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Maribel.
Yes.
Helene.
Yes.
Meg.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Rosanna.
Yes, sir.
Chris is not here, and Jay, yes. So we've approved the position, and I thank you for that. And then we would need a second motion to, if the committee is comfortable, to empower me as the chair to make a selection. Certainly, I'll solicit any feedback. Anybody has anything they want to contribute in that process. I'm very happy to have communications about that, but just to sort of move it forward and to be able to work practically with Aaron to make a selection. Can I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
All right. So we have a motion made and seconded to allow Jay as chair to make the selection. Mary.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Maribel.
Yes.
Helene.
Yes.
Meg.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Rosanna.
Yes, sir.
Chris is not here anymore, and Jay, yes. I thank you very much. I know that sounds sort of confusing. It's a bit much, but I think just being aware of our upcoming reduction to our admin budget, I think this is the best system for us. I think it's going to be an overall lower cost. I think it's going to be efficient, and I hope that it'll reduce the number of emails I have to send and receive on the topic. So we'll see. But I'll keep everybody updated on that process, and I appreciate everybody having confidence in me to make the selection. I certainly was not completely thrilled with that idea, but I think it was necessary to sort of move the process forward. So moving forward, project updates. So, our first one is Jones Point. I think we do have some members of the public here, and we were thrilled to have you. We always love to have visitors to our committee. I just wanted to kind of fill everybody in on some just some things that have happened in the last couple of weeks. Meg, I don't know if you wanted to lead us off or if you wanted me to sort of.
I'm happy to have you start.
Yeah, you want me to start?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. So, and then Helene as well, if you want to hop in at any point, please let me know. I know you were involved as well. So our Jones Points project's been going on for over 3 years. We've been doing a lot of work on that. There's an engineering study that's already been completed on the project, which we've invested money in. And, the master plan was from FY, is it 23, I believe. And then we took a vote in February of 24, which was confirmed by the city council in April of that year, if I'm not mistaken, to allocate money from our budget to complete the Jones Point project. So that project has already been established and voted on, and we've begun moving forward. So we've been doing that for a couple of years now. Part of that process at the beginning, I was not on the committee at that time, but I know there was some public engagement on that process. For whatever reason, I think some folks were sort of kind of didn't continue in the process, or weren't included in the process, or for whatever reason didn't realize what was going on with the Jones Point project. So we got an email from some of the neighbors of that park, people that live adjacent to Jones Point, expressing some concerns, particularly around the path. I think that was sort of the initial concern that I got. So there was a Park and Rec Commission meeting chaired by Helene. When was that, Helene? A week ago from Monday, I think it was, something like that. A couple weeks ago.
They're on Tuesdays.
Tuesdays. Was it a Tuesday?
Yeah. I don't
There was a
think
Park and Rec
it's
Commission
last
meeting, which is
Tuesday.
in John Moquin's office, interestingly, and so we were able to attend. I had some free time, and we went down to the meeting and just listened. It was real. I was there to kind of try to get a good understanding of what the concerns were, and we were able to listen to some of the residents. I heard a lot of, the concern about the path was essentially that it was, cutting through some open spaces, and then they felt that it didn't make sense relating to where a sledding hill was. And it was a very healthy and productive conversation. I think we're always there to try to engage the residents of Holyoke. So a follow up to that, Meg had a community meeting in Ward 7 at Ian White, which I was also able to attend a couple of days later. It was a pretty quick turnaround. And we were just there to listen and, try to establish a way forward where everybody felt listened to and everybody felt everybody's concerns were heard. So I think we accomplished that, honestly. I think we had a healthy conversation around that and had good communication with those folks that had their concerns. This afternoon, when I was driving home from work, I got an email with a letter that kind of expressed some different concerns than we had heard previously. Sort of an updated concern list, I guess you could say. And I sent that email out to everybody. I don't know if anyone had time to review it. Like I said, I got it at about 3:15 or somewhere, give or take a few minutes. I did send that out to everybody, so you didn't have much time to review it, but that's kind of where we stand. We have a couple of those residents are here, and we appreciate that. Meg, did you want to kind of add on to that?
Sure. I think that as it stands now, we have, a process that's taken a long time. And I think as a result, the public process that happened at this point 3 years ago feels far away to folks. And so I thought it was important. I was glad that folks were able to go to the Park and Rec Commission meeting, and I was glad that folks were able to come to the community meeting they had a few days later. I know I wasn't able to get that out with a lot of notice ahead of time to folks, and so there were people who had emailed me afterwards who, expressed that they did support the plan, weren't able to attend. I know that I had one email from one person that really they had gone through with some expertise the plan itself with the topographical gradations, and was sort of naming why they didn't have concerns about drainage, because they could see from the map that the designers had really been thinking about how to respond to it and make sure that the path itself would be clear of water and thus ice. So I thought that, we're trying to put together a complete picture of where we are, and this finalized plan was just finalized. It's taken a long time. And the reason why is because we had so much turnover in engineering and DPW and Parks and Rec. In every single one of the 3 departments that we work with on these projects, there was significant turnover. And so the project was always being handed off to the next person. And then there was that gap of trying to understand what the project was, what had been done, what needed to be done next. And as a result, it really slowed down and took a long time to move forward. So my initial frustration, and I've been hearing from folks for months saying, how come this is not moving forward? And so I had really started to reach out to John Moquin, who was the Parks and Recs director, frequently saying, there's a lot of frustration. Folks want to know that this is moving forward. Where's the finalized plan? Where's the finalized budget? Why is it being bottlenecked? And one of the main issues was that they were still waiting for the finalized plan from Time Bond, and that was being held up because there was a number of different things that were being finalized. One was the surveying work, and another was all the permitting that needed to be done. So the permitting that needed to get done was stormwater, but also was the Mesa permit, which is related to an endangered species permit. And that is because there's apparently a rare speckled salamander that lives in that area and cuts right across effectively the baseball diamond in terms of the area that it's considered to be in. And so any of the work that we were going to do related to the basketball court or the path required us to get that permit. That was then done. So it's been this process that has finally come to a head where there's now the finalized plan. There is all of the permitting that needs to be done. And at this point, it's making sure that we feel good about the plan in front of us before we move forward. So we've heard, concerns from the neighbors around the path. And we've heard from folks who, see the value of having a walking path. And we've heard folks who have concerns about there being 4 picnic tables and wanting there to be less picnic tables, or wanting the picnic tables to be closer to the road. And so when we were, talking at the community meeting, one of the questions that, I had said we would bring to the committee was, were we open to the concept of not having a full loop, but reducing it? And we had looked at different ways it could be reduced and why it might be reduced. And I think the idea of the reducing of the path is that there are folks who think, this is a very sort of, low scale park, doesn't have a lot of infrastructure, isn't overly built, and they want it to stay not overly built. And they, I think, also brought up the concern that the path, if it went alongside the tennis court, on its far side towards the soccer field, might then create a gradation that would make it really hard for folks to use the hill as they currently do, which is to sit along it in order to watch on the sidelines for the soccer game. And the same concern was raised for the part of the path that loops around the back of the tennis court, because there are some folks who use it as a sledding hill. And the concern was that if you build this path there, then it can't be used as a sledding hill anymore. So those things to me sounded like reasonable things for us to consider, that maybe we do want to reduce the path in those areas in order to make sure that those two issues don't exist for folks who are using the park. But then, I think it's a part of the conversation, and I think that we've heard from a lot of folks, and I think that we have to decide as a committee if we think that's reasonable or if we want to keep with the plan as it exists now.
Yeah. Helene, would you like to add to that at all?
I don't really have much to add, except that some of the things that both of you have spoken about is what was raised at the last Parks and Rec meeting. But the letter we received today said that folks want to just terminate the whole project, which was not at all raised at the Parks and Rec Commission meeting. So I don't, when things are so different from what you have at another meeting, there's really not much more to contribute from that.
For sure.
It's like a completely different issue. So
right. Michael.
Megan, with the concern of the reshaping the walking path, would that be significantly more money or alter the topography of the land dramatically, or would they be of a minor, if you will, happenstance in the scheme of things?
You mean if we did reduce the plan alongside
just
the
as an
sledding hill
idea,
and along the tennis court?
As you suggested.
It wouldn't cost additional funding. Effectively, we just would not regrade the land along the far side of the tennis court or along the back of the tennis court, and just leave that as it is. And the concept there is, the amount of time that it takes to take that off the plan would be minimal.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think another important thing is we had our proposal that the committee approved, sent to the city council, which they approved. And then we have a signed contract with the Park and Rec. So, the current plan, the current language in those proposals allows for some flexibility with the path. It does not allow for flexibility in other areas of the project. So to make those changes would require getting through the hurdle of this committee, which I'm not sure the temperature of the committee would be to make those changes. I'm not sure. I know I don't know that I support that. And then also the city council. So, I think the path is one thing, and I think there's some flexibility there. I think to go beyond that is going to be a heavy lift, and I'm not sure I'm up for doing that lifting. I don't know that that's the best path forward, but I think I'm open to having further conversations on the topic. I think certainly we want to be considerate of those that live closer to the park, but I think we also have to remember whose park is it? It's everybody's park. It's the city's park. It's all of Ward 7. It's all of the city of Holyoke. There's 40,000 people. So, we've given, or we will give, or continue to give added weight to those who live adjacent to the park. I think that's very important, and we want to consider those folks. But I think there's a lot of other things to weigh in that decision. So it's definitely a complicated thing. And I think Sarah, I just want to acknowledge as well, has been great about attending these meetings as well and offering expertise. So we appreciate that. I think, what I'm committed to is to continue to listen and to have dialogue and to try to, find a solution that works for everybody. And, we'll see if we're able to accomplish that. But, we've got money in already. We've invested, we've already begun this project, if there was some public dialogue on it, if there were concerns, it would have been better to hear it a couple of years ago before we started writing checks to tie in bonds. At this stage, it'd be unfortunate to have to, make a substantial change to the project. I think I don't know that that's good use of taxpayer money, and I don't know that the city council will support that. So, were there any other questions or concerns? Oh, I see. Mary.
Yeah, I was wondering, I think the original reason for the path had to do with handicap accessibility. So will this change that? Will there have to be any decision in regards to that? And if not, do you just want a motion?
No, that's a great question. And yes, that is one of the considerations with the path. And I think one of the things that we were insisting on, if we were going to make any changes or approve any changes to the path, was that all the components to the park would remain accessible. So while reducing the scope of the path is possible, it's limited by ensuring that all the components of the park are still accessible. And we did actually have somebody from the Commission on Disabilities come and speak, and she was very, it weighed heavy on me. I think she talked about her children not being able to participate in certain activities because she didn't have access. Her kids wanted to play soccer, but she wasn't able to get to the field and bring them to participate. And it was a very strong statement, I think. And I think it's part of the ethos of our committee to be considerate of those things. We've done that with our other projects at Mayor Field. And I think it's something that's important that we continue. And just, for the record, it's also written into our contract. I mean, we have that is the project that we approved, that the city council approved. So yes, Sarah.
To name that what I shared up here was is the map with the pathway, and then the discussion that we had had when Jay and I spoke was how do you reduce the pathway, but make sure that all of the elements can be reached. And so this draft of the pathway does that in yellow.
Yeah.
So this is the new draft?
This is sort of an update.
It's just a possible option if the committee decides that they want to reduce the pathway. This was, one, option that felt like a compromise. where we were still able to make sure that there's accessibility to all the elements in the park, but did reduce the pathway.
Is the pathway paved or is it permeable?
It's paved, Mary. It'd be a concrete path, but that was part of the planning process. So the runoff and the stormwater, et cetera.
If it is paved, then you may have to go back in regards to the section that's around the basketball court, because it would come under new supervision by MISA.
Okay. I mean, we can share that information with John, and he can, make sure that's part of it with tie-in bonds for sure. Sarah.
I guess the point that I kind of wanted to make with all of this is when, I first started kind of hearing of some of the opposition to the pathways, that were in this park. One of the first things that I did, not having the background with all of this, I wasn't here when the master plan was developed for the park, but I went back to try to find documentation on, records of who was at public meetings at that time, specifically what was said. And it was hard to really find a lot of background information on all of that. And, because of that, and kind of, people feeling like they really haven't been kept in the loop for 2 years. And I recognize that, there was a lot of turnover and it's hard to do that. But I would just urge others to kind of pay attention to concerns that are raised, just because we don't really have as much documentation going back from some of those initial meetings. And I know that as I kind of looked through it, when I first voted for the Jones Point project, it was kind of my understanding that a lot of members of the community were very on board with how all of this is going, and to kind of see some of these concerns being raised, it's made me check some of those assumptions. So I guess I'd really just like to urge the importance of listening to everyone.
Yeah. Meg.
Can we have a chance? Our hand has been up for a very long time.
Not at this moment. The committee is going to have their deliberations, and we may allow public comment after. But thank you. I apologize for that. But Meg.
I did want to name that I think that this committee takes public deliberation really seriously, and that's why we did the public process originally. Members of this committee, including Mary and Michael, knocked every door in that neighborhood all the way down from Northampton Street down, and put flyers on people's hands saying that we were doing this original public process with tie and bond. And inviting them to the meetings that we had, where we were able to look at Ian White School, to have these public meetings. I want to name that on our website, which is linked into the city, that we have the master plan process, and we also have the entire meeting where we discussed both the master planning process and the concept maps that were brought forward from tie and bond. If you go to our CPA website and go to 2004 and click on the Jones Point Park upgrade project that is there, you will then see linked underneath the public presentation the entire slide deck that came out of that plan, that has a really good description of all the existing conditions, probable costs, the mock-up of the playground, the front fence, the basketball court, this was something that was documented, and I know that there are folks who feel like I didn't know, or I wasn't included in the process. But I will say, in this world where there's so much information that we're almost saturated in it, it's really tricky to get information into the hands of the right people. But it was not for lack of effort. There's a lot of transparency that this group has tried to have about this project in terms of, Facebook posts, putting everything on our website. The website is linked in to the city website. I think that the committee has tried to create as much transparency as possible and will continue to do so. We take that seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as soon as we became aware of the concerns, I think we in good faith, attended this meeting at the Park and Rec Commission, and then hosted yet another meeting for further feedback. I think, the committee, the CPA committee has continued to be committed to receiving information from the public. The thing is, there's the project is already in motion. We took this vote nearly 2 years ago. Money's been committed, so it's more difficult now to make a change. And we've already locked in. We've taken our vote. The city council's taken their vote. To change course at this stage is more difficult. So I think that's that's something that we need to keep in mind as well. I think we want to address some concerns, some good faith concerns from the neighbors where we can. But I don't know how long will we be able to draw it out for, because the clock's ticking. There's construction plans made. There's RFPs being proposed. And were there any other Helene?
Yeah, I guess there was a meeting a couple of weeks ago, again, with issues raised around the path and discussion. And important to hear what people have to say. I like Meg attended the meetings a couple of years ago. I would say for Parks and Rec Commission, this project has had the most very targeted community outreach than any of the other projects we've done that I can think of. So, but it has taken a while, and there's been a tremendous amount of turnover. And the person who hosted those meetings, our former director, would have hopefully kept, because there were sticky notes and comments and people writing things. It was very interactive. It was lots of questions. Ty and Bond was there answering them. So, in the future, that is a good reminder that whoever is hosting those meetings has to keep and archive all of that feedback. But it happened, and those meetings, I went to one, but it was very well attended. That said, so there's discussion, and I think Jay, you've been really helpful in talking about modifications. Meg, it looks like you've put energy into modifying, but then today the ask is now to just stop the project altogether. And so I guess I'm just wondering how much more time it's worth to make changes and tinker around if there isn't an interest in moving forward with the project. I think there's things, the playground equipment, I'm sure we can find another park for, there's other things we could do. So the ask feels like it's changed just in the last couple of weeks. And so I'm just, a lot of people have put tremendous amount of time, all of us, of course, unpaid, into this. So that's sort of where I'm coming from. I don't want anyone else to put more time into something that isn't going to, there's no positive resolution. And I would be happy to have one and be happy to modify, but again, that's not the ask that came, and I read the letter today. That isn't what was being asked. It was what was being asked like a couple of weeks ago.
Right. It was sort of, and that was sort of my frustration as well, is that, I thought there was sort of an initial list of concerns, and we in good faith met and tried to address those concerns, and I think found a reasonable solution. And then now there's like another set, like they're like, oh, well, you've addressed that, but now here's another problem that I have with it. And it sort of, makes me question whether this is a good faith discussion or not, to be perfectly frank. It's the other thing is this with this letter is, I've talked and I know personally several people on this list. One of whom I talked to on Saturday morning at MD basketball. And this letter did not reflect the conversation that we had. I'd be shocked if they were aware of the specifics of this and did not have that conversation with me at that time. We talked about Jones Point in that conversation. So, there's a lot of uncertainty here about what's actually, what's actually going on and what we're dealing with here. So I think, what I'd like to do is to, certainly, like I said, if we do nothing, the project proceeds. Everything is locked in. So if the only thing we could do would be to, begin the motions of making some changes. So what I think we might want to do is really have a well advertised public meeting and get everybody in the same room and really get a sense of what everybody actually is looking for, because, you can get emails and Word documents, and that's fine. But I think, when we're all in the same room and people, have face-to-face conversations, I think we get some, that's where we're really going to make some progress. So, really, I think that's our next step from here. But, the clock's ticking too, because the biggest criticism I've gotten, superseding even this on this project, is that it's taking too long. That still would be the number one criticism that I've heard from this project. So, if we're going to get this thing done by the spring, which is the hope, early summer, we're going to have to get going. So we can't be drawing this out forever. That being said, we do have a couple members of the public here. Is the committee interested in hearing some comments from the public? Now, is there any other comments from the committee members before we would open that up? Mary.
Okay, I think it's a great idea, the business of the public meeting, but I do think we have to keep in mind, yes, that the clock is ticking, and for every day it costs more money. So that's an issue. But there are many things that we want to remind everyone about, including the fact that in order to get the money for this project, there was a big advocacy from the community, from the people who lived around the park, and from the people who were in city council at the time to get the money from CPA, because this park does not qualify for any improvements under CDBG. So this park would be orphaned without CPA funds. At least at the time, that's the way it would be. It was explained to us. So any improvements that you would want for this park had to come from CPA. If we abandoned this, then I don't know. Then I think that even at the time, the person who is in charge of Parks and Rec even said to us to get a trash bin was difficult. So do we want to go back to that? I don't know. Anyway, so all those pieces would want to be made public before we made another decision. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I would suggest that we do allow public comment as long as all the committee members feel that they've had their opportunity to be heard here. I would suggest that we limit that. We put a time limit on that. I don't know that we're going to be here all night listening or we have time for that. I would suggest 2 minutes would be a reasonable amount of time. Does the committee agree with that? Is there anyone who feels differently?
Per speaker.
All right, so I'll make a motion and I'll look for a second to allow public comment at our meeting tonight on the topic of Jones Point and to limit those comments to 2 minutes, please. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. And I'm going to take a roll call vote on that. Mary?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Maribel? Actually, I apologize. Maribel had to step out of the meeting, so she's not here. She's not with us anymore. Helene?
Yes.
Meg? Yeah, yes. Sarah?
Yes.
Rosanna. Is Rosanna with us still? I know she had a family conflict. I'm not sure. Put her as a neutral.
She left at
Yep.
7:28.
For some reason, I can't unmute when I'm
Oh.
on my phone, but yes, sorry. I'm just
good.
eating. I don't want you to see me stuffing my face.
We're glad you're still with us. We appreciate it, Rosanna.
Okay.
Chris is at another meeting and Jay, yes. So we voted to allow some public comment. Naomi, would you please be able to set a timer for us? We won't be too stringent with it, but are there any members of the public? I know Lauren had mentioned she was interested in speaking that would like to comment.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Beth Broke. I'm at Lauren McGar's house because I can't Zoom. Thank you for letting me speak and thank you for letting us join. The reason that our opinions have changed regarding this project is because I asked at least 4 times for a budget, which I was not provided, and finally found an outdated budget online. It's over 2 years old with costs that are absolutely ridiculous. $2,500 for a bench, a timber fence, $35,000, one picnic table, $4,200, almost $45,000 for trees. In a city that doesn't have enough affordable housing to spend money like this was our big thing, especially because since we had those meetings, we had 2 huge fires in this city. We have 75 families who are homeless, and we're going to spend $400,000 on a park. It does not seem right. As far as communication, we did go to those meetings in ENY, and then we heard nothing. There was nothing on the Parks Department. If you don't scroll through the CPA, and how would you know to look on the CPA? You wouldn't know. Nobody in our neighborhood knows about this project. We thought we were getting a new play gym, and we thought they were going to resurface the basketball court. That is it. Nobody knew about that. If I hadn't clicked on an old meeting, none of us would be sitting here right now. The people that I can talk to are people that I physically see. We had emails from those meetings. Nobody contacted us. It's been over 2 years. I did call the Parks Department. I was told the plans were still in the works by Mr. Reynolds, who, as we know, is now gone. So we've had no communication. The budget is not accurate. There are things in there that we feel we do not need. And I would say out of the 15 people I know who know about this, that does not count the 60 immediate houses in the neighborhood that they don't know. So please don't tell me that the communication's been great, because unfortunately it hasn't. And our list, I know it was a strong letter, but when I was walking with somebody the other day and they said they should just forget the whole thing. And unfortunately, when you look at these costs, that's when I looked at the costs. And I do this for a living. I look at costs for a living. I couldn't even believe the money that we were spending here. I don't think it's feasible, especially our city is in a financial mess right now. I just can't realistically think that this is a good way for use of taxpayer funds at this point.
All right. Thank you, Beth. Was there anyone else that would like to add anything to that? Right. I don't see anything. So we thank you for coming, and I think certainly we'll be in contact about future public meetings. I think like I said, there's some flexibility with regards to the path. I think the other items are going to be a heavier lift, and I for one am not willing to do that lifting, but we'll see what comes of the we'll see what comes of the public meeting. But I think a good thing is to really get everybody in the same room and see where everybody actually stands, because I think what I read today wasn't reflective of the conversations that I had. And I had conversations with nearly half, or no, personally, nearly half of the people on this list. So, I think we'll work together with Meg. Certainly we'll make sure that folks are invited, and it's well advertised. And I think that'll be a healthy part of the process. So thank you for your attendance.
I think
and
just
we'll
getting
certainly,
the link, it was a problem too. So obviously making sure that we have the right information to get to the meetings would be an important piece.
And I think I think the hope, Lauren, is to have an in-person meeting. So like I said, perhaps after the holidays, it's probably going to be tough to sneak one in before Christmas. But maybe an Ian White meeting. We'll get some see if we can get some big printouts of what we're looking at, and make sure that we're letting folks know. And certainly I'll keep in contact with Beth about that. And I encourage you to, bring as many folks as you can, and try to get as many people from the neighborhood. We did have a number of people from Ward 7. I actually live in Ward 7 myself, who also had wanted to come and participate in such a meeting. So I think that's the thing that we're going to work on, because in good faith we want to hear from everybody, and we want to do good projects as part of the CPA, and I think that's what we've done and what we'll continue to do. So we're committed to that moving forward. So thank you all so much for coming to our meeting tonight. The other update for us moving forward is Rights Block. So Rights Block, I don't know if you saw any of the news, has broken ground on their project on High Street. And it's a great, the CPA provided some seed money for them. They were able to get a number of state and federal grants for their rehab of those buildings. So we're talking about, if anyone knows where the Warsaw is, anyone have breakfast at the Warsaw back in the day?
Oh,
Michael, I know you. I used to go there. I liked it. I was a fan, and
that was a great spot.
Yeah, it was. And that whole neighborhood's been having a hard time for a couple of decades. And this group that's doing Rights Block Urbanist Development has bought or has options to buy a number of those buildings, and they're taking they're very conscious of our city, of its history, and working with the city government to do good work. They're very sharp guys. They're good at finding loans and grants. If you remember, our committee took a vote last meeting to turn our grant into a loan to help them out. But they were able to break ground on Tuesday. Bill actually reached out. Bill Wohlmendorf is one of the partners, and he was so excited about the project. He wanted to actually come and present today. I actually just discouraged that because we had so much beef on our agenda. I didn't know that we'd have time to really fit it in. But they're so excited about the project, and they want to come and kind of show us what's going on. And they've invited us as well to come and take a tour of what's been started. So I just think it's we sit here and we have these sort of philosophical discussions a lot, but the rubber's meeting the road well there, and I think it's going to really be a good boost for our city. That whole block and that whole neighborhood. Is making a comeback. I don't know that the Warsaw will be there again, unfortunately. But I'll have to get kielbasa and eggs somewhere else. But that's the update. Did anybody have any questions or comments related to that? All right. And then a couple of other things just on old business. We've had this term limits discussion in the past. Like I said, just to restate my concern is that these positions, the leadership positions of our committee they're a heavy lift, and I deeply enjoy working with the members of this committee. I think a lot of us have become friends. It's a leisure activity for me. This is fun for me. This meeting right now is fun. But I don't know that we'll always be able to find people that feel that way. I think we've seen the trend in a number of other city departments is that it's the same. I was saying to John Moquin, it's like the same 50 people do everything in the city. You know what I mean? They're on 3 boards. They're on park. There's the coaching basketball. Mike's down at Sacred Heart taking tickets and selling hot dogs. You know what I mean? It's this. There's 50 to 75 people that do everything. So I just think the concern is that we might term limit ourselves out of somebody that's willing and able to do the position. And I just wanted to have that discussion about perhaps altering that, those numbers. The current layout, it limits the chair to a 3-year term. Was there any thoughts on that? Sorry, my daughter is
Sorry.
I'll be right with you.
Jay, I'm just wondering if that's something that isn't like a time crunch thing. We could talk about another time just because it is so late. I'm not really in a headspace to talk about something new. I think it's an important thing to bring up, but I'm just wondering if maybe
I completely agree. I'm kind of burnt
nearing
out
2
after all of
hours.
our discussions, and I think
So-
there's some depth to it. So we should have 1 second.
It's also in our bylaws, and so and our
Sweetheart,
bylaws
Dad's in his
are-
meeting, okay?
Are in that one, I believe, is in ordinance. So I think we would also need to go through a process if we wanted to change it.
I'm happy to have
Go upstairs
discussion.
with
I
Mom,
just am like,
okay?
maybe not tonight. That's all.
Yeah, I go upstairs with Mom. I'll be right. Yeah. Sorry about that. My children were busting into the room. Yeah, I think I apologize. I think it's a good discussion to have, and I think we should have it at another meeting if folks feel comfortable with that. Mary, would you agree?
When is the deadline? Is it when we vote in the new person next?
Yeah,
year?
I mean, I'm not even term limited. If it would please the committee, I'd be eligible to serve a whole nother 1.5 years. So there's no time pressure on it at all. We can punt this for months and months, but I think it's an important discussion. I can say I don't personally plan on, staying in the position, for too long. I don't, it is a lot, but I think it's just something I'd like everybody to really just think deeply about, and in February or March or April or May or June, we'll, maybe get around to taking some action on it. But I just think it's an important thing and not something to be rushed. And I just wanted to sort of keep it on folks' mind.
So then
Moving forward, it's just the treasurer position would be the other thing. We're just looking for, I think it would be a good thing for our committee to have that. But again, we can have that discussion, I think, at another meeting if folks are comfortable with that. I think we've had a lot going on, and some technical difficulties and some visitors. And if everybody feels comfortable, I'd like to call the meeting at this point. And
No, you can't. You can't. First of all, do you need a motion to table those 2 items?
Oh, yes, I do.
Skip number 6. So, okay, do you want to table the 2 items?
My goodness, I skipped over item 6. I apologize.
So,
thank you for saying that.
So do you want a motion to table the 2 items in old business and reopen them after we've done our our decision making on money? So at the end of February, so our second February meeting, I'm going to make a motion that we table this until our our March meeting.
I think that's a great motion. I think we should push it past our public presentations and voting. I will second that motion. Let's take a vote. Mary?
Yes.
Michael?
Absolutely.
Maribel? No, Maribel's moved on. Helene?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Rosanna?
Yes, sir.
Chris is at his meeting, and then Jay, yes. So we'll bring that back up in March, and I just ask that people, keep that in mind. I apologize. I just skipped over item number 6. So public presentations are upon us. typically, I've been on the committee and done this twice now. We've done 2 meetings in January, I believe. I think that would be appropriate based on the number of applicants that we have. We could probably fit them all into one meeting, but I get kind of burnt out. Like, as you only can really, you only have so much bandwidth to ask good questions and to do good work. I think we'd be at our best to split this into 2 meetings. If folks were comfortable with that, I was going to suggest January 14th, which is the second Wednesday of January, and January 21st, which is the third Wednesday of the month. Do folks feel comfortable with those numbers? Mary?
Can you tell me, are the small grants going to be decided then also?
No. So the small grants are on a rolling basis. So we could bring those in really at any time. It's a little bit of a streamlined process. So, hypothetically, we could bring those up, but I don't think that I'd bring those forward on that day. I'd like to probably keep those separate. Perhaps March or April would be a more realistic timeline for that.
Okay. Okay. Do you want a motion to, do you need a motion?
Yeah, I think we could do that. I think we should make a motion to have January 14th and January 21st, 2026 as our public presentation dates. Naomi and I will reach out to the applicants and make sure that works with their schedules. And then I'll communicate with the committee members which applicants will be presenting on which day, so you can be prepared with specific questions and such.
Okay, so
yeah.
So moved.
All right. So we have a motion made and seconded. Mary?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Helene?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Rosanna?
Yes, sir.
And Jay, yes. Thank you all so much. It was a different meeting. We had a lot going on, a little bit later than usual.
I don't mean to keep us longer. I just
no
want to add one more thing, if that's okay, for
Yep.
just for the notes and the record. As we're putting together, thinking about doing a meeting about Jones Point, I think it's very important to have a component of that, which is very much about like what the regulations are for using CPA funds, and how that plays out, and also, to some degree, like what durable equipment in a park is like. So just the comment about the cost of the picnic tables. We have to get picnic tables that are like affixed to the ground for CPA. That's my understanding. And you have to get picnic tables that are of like a professional park level of quality, or they get torn apart. And so there's, particular places that sell those. And that is going to cost not what you would normally expect a picnic table to cost, but there's really specific reasons for that. And so I just want that to be reflected, like, as we think about that meeting, that there's this bigger picture. Like, you can't sort of pluck a few bits of information out. There's a lot of things that have to be considered in using CPA funds that obviously people wouldn't necessarily know about, and that's totally fine. But I think that has to be part of the communication. So anything that comes out of that meeting is like a very full understanding of the limitations and the opportunities that this funding provides.
100%. I agree completely with that statement. Absolutely. And we'll keep in good contact with the committee members. Certainly we want everybody to be present for those meetings if they're free to do so. So we'll let everybody know. I think Meg will be involved in that one. But yeah, I think if everybody's comfortable, we could call the meeting, and our next meeting would be our January 14th meeting, which would be for public presentation. So I'll be in contact between now and then, just providing information. And, if anybody has any concerns or questions or needs, anything, please don't hesitate. Mary?
Okay, yeah, I absolutely agree with Helene. And the business of this meeting, it can't be just a situation where you just let us know what's going on. We need to be really prepared.
Yeah.
Helene's idea: bring all the costs, bring the budget, bring what has been spent, bring a list of all the times we talked about this, bring the slide stack that Megan referred to. So it can't just be, like at a moment's decision that you have a certain date. You really have to, this has to be well planned, and we really all need to be involved.
That's a great point.
Do you know when? Do you know when you want to do this?
I don't. Probably early January, I would think.
Oh, geez, Louise, that's way too early.
You
But
think?
yet we can't wait any longer.
I know.
Can we pull this together for January?
I don't know. We got a lot on the docket in January already. That's the thing. There's a lot. It's a balance to be struck here because the clock's ticking with engineering. If we're going to make some changes, you know what I mean? It's a late hour to be requesting changes. We've been doing this for a couple of years, but anyway, I appreciate everybody.
Okay.
And we'll get her done. Thank you all for your help tonight and for your support.
Okay. Thank you. Good night.
All right. Good night.